Joan Johnson. I'm the studio head at Descriptive Video Works, and you're listening to the Audio Description Narrators of America Know Your Narrator series, Beyond Your Narrator episode.
I'm Roy Samuelson, your host, and today we have Stephanae McCoy today. I'm so happy. She is the founder and owner of Bold Blind Beauty. Thanks for joining us, Steph.
Thank you for having me, Roy. I'm so excited to be here.
Let's jump right in and ask what you love about audio description.
You know, I still consider myself a relative newbie where audio description is concerned, but I do remember the very first time I actually sat down at a movie with the headset and watched a movie with audio description. It was just several years ago. A new theater opened up in my old hometown, and myself along with a friend of mine were asked to come and test their headsets because they hadn't yet had a chance to offer them to folks who are blind or low vision. So we were like, sure, yeah, that'll be fun. So I did, and it was like, it felt almost magical to me. It was so cool sitting there and just actually being able to focus totally on the movie as opposed to trying to use what remaining eyesight I have left to see what's on the screen because I can't see very well. So for me, it was almost like a symphony or something. I mean, it was just so beautiful. It was such a beautiful experience. I was like in awe of it. You know, the fact that I didn't have to ask anybody next to me what was happening on the screen. It was just beautiful.
And when it comes to not having to ask, that sounds like a great transition to start talking about Bold Blind Beauty. In my experience with all the content that you're providing on Bold Blind Beauty, there's a real sense of connection. Can you talk a little bit about that or whatever you'd like to share about Bold Blind Beauty?
I guess before getting into that, I should go back and talk a little bit about why I do what I do for Bold Blind Beauty. Bold Blind Beauty is an online community that was designed to empower blind and visually impaired women. I lost my sight. It's been a little over 10 years ago. I became legally blind and I needed to use a white cane to navigate the world safely. And my whole world just changed. I mean, it was a several-year process of losing my sight. But what happened through that process was I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to work? How am I going to continue doing the things that I was doing? I had just gotten a promotion. I had just bought a home. I had just got married a year before, just bought a brand new vehicle, and I'm worried about all of these things. All I could see was darkness ahead of me because I just didn't know how blindness was going to fit into my life. I don't know. It was, I think, sort of, realizing who I am and some of the things I've been through in my life previously that led me to advocacy for myself. It was always easy for me as a really introverted, highly sensitive person to advocate on behalf of other people because I've just learned recently that highly sensitive people basically take on the emotions of other people. We get a real good feel of the room. So I can get a read on people without really knowing them just by the sort of air that's like around them. So to do that, advocating for other people like family members that had disabilities, for my son who had to be put into the special education program at school, it was just very natural for me to do that. But when it came to me losing my own sight and having to do it for myself, that was something different. But it was something that I knew that needed to be done because so many people would look at me like, obviously, you can see something, but you're using a white cane, but you're dressed really nice, you put on makeup, you walk very confidently. How do you do it? To answer the question, there really is no one singular answer. It's a combination of things, but I think part of it for me was helping people to understand there is no one way or no right or wrong way to be blind. And as a matter of fact, I do identify as blind or low vision. Most of the time, I refer to myself as blind because it's a term that I've become comfortable with. It's just another identifying characteristic of who I am as a person. It is not my whole story. So I am not afraid of the word, and I don't want other people to be afraid of the word. So that was one of the reasons why I created the site, so that people could get a better understanding of what blindness is and the people who live with it and our value and what we can do.
One of the connections that I'm always enjoying when I read your articles or see your content on Bold Blind Beauty is that self-advocacy seems to really be happening in audio description as well, in the sense that blind and low vision audiences are now starting to demand what they want, and that those self-advocacy steps, and like you said, I like how you say there's no one way to be blind, that there's no agreed upon one thing in audio description that has to be done, but there definitely are similarities and consistencies that need to be addressed. And it's exciting to see how disability community in general, and specifically the blind and low vision community, are starting to participate in the conversation that directly affects them. Can you address any of that?
Definitely. I think what's happening, what excites me about some of the changes that I'm seeing in audio description within the blind and low vision community is the fact that I think people are becoming empowered. They're actually understanding that they have a right to raise their voice. They have a right to demand quality and excellence, just like anybody else who gets it but doesn't, I don't want to say doesn't need it, but anybody else on a planet that doesn't have a disability, okay? It's a given that a lot of things in life are just accepted, okay? But when you are a person who has a physical, mental, or some other form of disability, there's certain things that have to be done to level the playing field. I think some people without disabilities tend to think that accommodations are like a gift, like we're giving you a gift so that you can therefore be able to do what we're able to do. And I think we need to change the way we think about that. And that's one of the things I'm really excited about our community in particular, just understanding that, hey, we deserve to be able to enjoy entertainment or anything, education, just like anybody else. Just because we consume that content a little bit differently doesn't make it less valuable for us. Because I think there's sort of a thought process that, where audio description is concerned, that if you provided just the minimum amount of it, that we should be happy with that. I hear comments like, well, the blind should be really excited that they're getting it at all, because we don't have to do this for them. And I think that's just such a narrow-minded view, and it doesn't take into consideration other people. And let's face it, we may be the smallest demographic within the minority group, but that still doesn't rule out the fact that there are many, many millions of us throughout the country and the world. Like, what is it, 220 some million people who are blind or low vision who are impacted by this. So it's important. And I'm just glad that I have a platform and I've connected with other people who use their platforms to amplify the voices of our community.
With audio description, high quality and excellence, one thing I'm noticing is the blind and low vision audiences, in that empowerment of speaking up, it's getting results. And because of those results, it's it's changing the conversation, like you had said. I'm curious if you have any examples in your own advocacy of how things have changed thanks to your efforts.
Oh my goodness, yes. Actually, in several different areas. Bold Blind Beauty, like I said, was designed to empower blind and low vision women, along with connecting sighted and blind people. So there's sort of a broader mission behind it, and that mission is to improve humanity by changing the way we perceive one another. Sounds very, very broad. But in the beauty and fashion industries, for example, we know that we have a long, long way to go where inclusion is concerned. you have to look no further than Google. Just by Googling images of people with disabilities and see what you get. I know this because I'm constantly looking for those images for a lot of the content that I publish and share across social media. I'm hard pressed to find accurate representation of people who are not only blind and low vision, but people across the disability spectrum. For example, wheelchair users. So when I'm looking for images of wheelchair users, a lot of the images I see, and one of the programs I use a lot is Canva. It's like an online graphics tool. Okay, so I go out there and I pull up I'm searching for images of people that use wheelchairs. And the images that I get back, the results I get back, are people in manual wheelchairs, the kind that you see in hospitals, or the type of chairs that people use temporarily, like for a temporary injury or something like that. Not too many people with a permanent physical disability who use wheelchairs use the manual ones all the time. That's not to say that everybody does, but it's not something you see a lot of times. You see more of the power chairs, and I'm not sure what they're all called. I have some friends that could correct me on that, but their chairs are quite different than the images that I receive my search results. And not only that, but for people who are into sports. So wheelchair users who play soccer or other sports that they play, but they have these special made chairs that are adapted so that they can enjoy participating in sports like anyone else within their situation. So yeah, I think in a lot of different areas I'm noticing some change. I notice with some of the beauty companies are thinking about how to incorporate tactile methods of identifying products and services, adapting their services so that people who are blind or low vision are able to more readily access those products and services independently.
One of the cool things about adaptive services is the exposure to sighted people by products having these kinds of changes happening, whether it's braille or otherwise, that sighted people are now becoming, and even going back to the search results, that as search results change, that's actually changing the conversation too, isn't it?
I think it is. And I also think, we broaden the way we think about things and use some creativity in the way we are creating things at the outset. It benefits everybody. And one example of that is Victoria Lamb Beauty. Victoria Lamb Beauty is one of the companies that Bold Blind Beauty is working with. She has created a tactile QR code system on the outer packaging of her products. And when you open up the outer packaging, on the bottles and jars of her products is a tactile symbol for each product to allow a blind or low vision user to know what those products are. Well, for somebody who has sight, they're able to see that. So it benefits them as well. It adds, I think, an interesting element, like an additional element, an enhancement, if you will, to the actual products. And when I think even further, like in the area of arts and things like that, tactile photographs or images or just art that's created using tactile methods, how cool is that, a person who has sight can actually see it, but then they can go further and enjoy actually experiencing the touching of it and what it feels like to run their hands over an object to see what it looks like with their hands. How cool is that?
And I'm thinking about all the technology changes that are happening with screen readers becoming tactile, that instead of pixels, there's actually raised sections that could also be included for film and TV. If you want to experience what is being shown visually on a screen, you can feel it.
Yeah, yeah, it's really, really cool some of the technology that's out there. I'm actually working with a friend of mine who's an inventor, and he's creating several really cool products that I hope are going to hit the market very soon for blind and low vision children, but I see where these products could actually benefit adults as well. And even as you had said, the sighted community can involve themselves in this process and be part of it.
One of the things that's really exciting in audio description specifically is that bridging the connection between our audiences and the entertainment industry. Just in this world of creative approaches to things, can you think of a dream scenario with audio description that you'd like to see come?
There was a few, and actually, they're not my ideas. I actually pilfered them from one of my friends, Juan, but he has such great ideas on how to incorporate different creativity into audio description. And when I was looking at the, was it an article? I think it was an article he had written. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, oh my God, I never would have thought of this. I mean, just some of the cool ideas that are out there that people like him, people like yourself, other people who are in the industry are actually coming up with. And I'm just blown away, encouraged, excited. I cannot wait to see what's coming down the pike where audio description is concerned.
I believe that's on kevinsprocess.com/out of the box. There's a growing list of audience contributions thanks to Juan Alcazar's inception of the idea.
That's it. Oh my God. How could I forgot where I saw that?
I love that the point is though that you came across it and it stuck with you. I'm curious of those ideas. If you happen to remember any of them, what struck you? Like when you thought about some of those ideas that Juan and others have shared, what was it about
Yeah.
that got you excited?
There was one where he was talking about making a character out of the narrator, the audio description narrator or something. There was something about using the audio description narrator in a fun way. And I thought, oh my God, that is so brilliant. I mean, who thinks of this kind of stuff? And how would that work and what would that look like? To me, it's almost like when the internet first came into being, or before it came into being, we heard what it was going to be. And it was like in my head, I couldn't imagine. It's like, well, how is that going to work? How are we actually going to be able to send stuff like through the air to people where they can receive it somewhere else? I just couldn't understand it. And then as it got closer and closer, more people had access to it. And I could see how it actually worked by working with it. I was just like, wow, this is just amazing. So when I looked at that article and what Juan had said, some of his suggestions, while I can't remember off the top of my head what they were, I did go out and I had to Google some other things because it was like, this is just too cool. I want to know how this is going to work and I want to know when it can happen.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, there is. What I would like people to understand about people with disabilities, and I think specifically with blindness and low vision, because it's such sort of a mystique. It's a mystery and people don't understand it. They think that blindness is black versus light, light versus dark, seeing, not seeing. And what I would like people to understand is that it's a range, it's a spectrum, just like anything else in the world. There is no one way, like I said earlier, to be blind or to behave as a blind person. There are plenty of people like me who are blind who look like they can see, but people will look at people and form an opinion as opposed to really just sitting back and waiting to listen to their story. And I think that's the one thing I would encourage people to do, to really get to know people and to listen to their story and to have empathy.
Listening to your story in this interview and also all our correspondences, it's been a great gift to receive. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How can people reach you either on your website or social media?
You can Google my name, Stephanae McCoy. It's spelled differently than the average Stephanae. It's Stephanae, McCoy, McCoy. And my name pops up first. It used to, at any rate. I haven't checked it in a while. But you can follow me or find me on the website at boldblindbeauty.com or on my social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all of those are Bold Blind Beauty.
Very cool. Thanks so much, Steph.
Thank you, Roy. It's been a pleasure.